Welcome back. I'm trying to control her. Incest and rape are often treated as a taboo subject in the black community as well. But what happens when those taboos destroy our black children?
Dear God, I need to talk to you so bad. I hated that. I hated that so much. Please help me. He said if I tell Mama,
she will kill my ass. Why he come into my room, God? He is supposed to do that with grown-ups, not kids. Please help me. I get so sad. I know my secret is safe with you. Just please be there when I have to write again. When I was 4 or 5 years old, the first man that touched me was my play grandpa, whose name one day he asked me to sit on his lap. He pulled up my dress and began to stick his finger in me. He began to rock and say, Papa Ernest love you. Papa Ernest love you. You love Papa Ernest? And I said, yeah, I do. And I said, but Papa Ernest, you're hurting my privates. Inside, I felt like dirt. That was a very tight secret in my home. My mother kept it silent for a long time until she could not keep it inside anymore. She would deal with it by cussing me out. I became the seducer in the house and the blame.
Please give an old drama welcome to Candace Cole, author of Scars, One Child's Paper Cries for Love. Wow. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah. When I have to say, your story gave me strength because of how you dealt with the dilemmas. Tell us, you know, you were telling us in this pre-tape that we just saw, but what did you feel like, you
At
know?
5. You were 5 when you were first molested.
I felt very confused. Like I said, I looked at Papa Ernest, who was supposed to be this grandpa image, and all of a sudden he was doing things to me that I didn't understand. I
But
knew
you
it
knew
was
they were
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah, definitely. And they heard it. And I wondered why would Papa Ernest do that to me in the name of love.
And this is why incest is such a taboo. Because you were afraid to go to your mom and tell or tell anyone.
Plus, Papa Ernest told me not to.
Right.
He says, remember, this is our little game. Nobody's to know this. Not
See, that's
Mama.
why that's what always just me off. Because adults, they use children like that, knowing good and well that in most cases they aren't strong enough, smart enough, astute enough to know, well, this ain't no game. You're molesting me and I'm telling. So they do that little game. They go down to a child's level to keep a secret, you know, and it just, I think the people who molest children, it's like death penalty. I'm serious.
I agree.
Who did you want to tell first?
I certainly wanted to tell my mother.
And what stopped you? Or why didn't you? Or what happened when you did?
What stopped me, I believe, is fear. Because here you have a large man, and Papa Ernest was extremely big. And when he said, don't tell nobody, it's our little secret, I mean, the entire act devastated me.
Right.
When I finally did tell my mother, that was after my mother got married. Papa Ernest was at 4.5, 5 years old. My mother got married, and then I thought my stepfather, Mr. Calvin, would be a very beautiful.
You thought that was a good thing.
Yeah, we all of a sudden, now we have a family. But he became my next molester. And he instilled a lot of fear in me. Because, see, my mother was a very violent woman.
Right.
My mother had an alcoholic problem, as the book says, and I have seen my mother throw men over pool tables in clubs.
At the club that you talk about.
Exactly.
Did you ever tell your mom?
I did.
Eventually.
I did.
But let me say, before you did tell your mom, I have to say, and I know, you know, your mother, no matter what, you still love them, is unconditional. But when I read this book, I wanted to just grab your mother and you know, get
I
into
wanted to
because your
get your mother
mother
for taking you to the clubs at 4 years
and
old and
hide
hiding
you,
you.
and drop you off at people's homes and not come back to the next day.
Because Papa Ernest, you only was, that was one time, correct?
Well, it was a lot of times.
It was, okay, you only spoke
Yeah.
of one time in the book.
Exactly.
Right.
It was only until you
Exactly.
finally like just screamed and then someone saved you. Another neighbor actually saved you.
Right. Yeah, that was our neighbor, Buddy and Jean, which was
What
like,
age was that?
that was actually the following year. That's about 5. Because
And
these
you
babysitters,
screamed?
when my mother would say, now you're going over to Papa Ernest and Big Mama, and I just lose it. It's like, please, Mama, don't take me. Please don't take me over there. I don't want to go. And so I cry. I just go off, and she's like, quit being a brat. Quit being spoiled. You know, she wouldn't listen.
And when you finally told her, or you screamed, or she found out, what happened? I got to know, what did your mama
How
do?
she stopped taking me to Papa Ernest's house is Buddy, the neighbor, says, Doris, damn, can't you hear the girl? Why don't you ask her why she's screaming? We'll keep her. We'll keep her. And so that's how I was saved from Papa Ernest. I never
You
told her
weren't
about
saved
Papa
from-
Ernest.
From
But I-
stepfather Calvin.
exactly.
Right.
So when she got married, that's when the second abuse started, the molestation. And I was about 12, 13 years old when I finally told her about that, because it started happening about 7 and a half.
What did your mama do? She killed somebody,
What
right?
she did, the part about my mother shooting someone, that depicts her anger. She shot a woman for messing with her old man, and she was already married. What my mother did when I finally told her, she was silent for about 3 or 4 weeks. She confronted him. I walked in the room the last time he molested me, and I said to myself, I'm not going to let you do this to me no more. No more. I would try to wake my mother at nighttime when it happened, and she was so drunk as a skunk. It was like a dead sleep. And so I finally told her, and she confronted him, and he looked at me, and he says, that girl is crazy. She's been having nightmares. I don't know what she's talking about. Walked out, went back to the backyard. She turned around, looked out the window, and never turned around again. And so I went to the bedroom, to my closet, where I used to sit in the back of my closet and just rock and cry, and just talk to
And
God
that's where
about
you
it.
used to go into your closet, and you wrote in your diary.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what saved you, huh?
Exactly.
Diary.
Yeah,
That
And you
goes-
saved all those letters. Those were actual letters that you saved from your
Exactly.
childhood.
And being a child, and your mother one time accused you of taking her man,
right.
a child.
Right. She would start to say, first when my mother finally broke the silence, she called me and she says, baby, don't worry about it. Mama's been thinking, I'm going to kill that. Don't you worry about it. I'm going to take care of it from now. And so I was very hopeful.
Right.
It was tormenting to have that silence and not know what she was thinking. If she was going to kill me, if she was going to kill him. And so I was very glad. But what began to happen, also my mother started drinking more. That's what I immediately saw, the response in her. Morning, noon, and night, she was drinking Canadian Mist, whiskey throughout the day. That's how she handled it. I didn't know that then.
So she was probably covering up her
Yes,
scars.
I didn't know that then, but of course I knew it
Now, had
now.
your mother been abused? Did you know anything about
Yes, my mother had been abused in her younger years. And so what she began to do...
How did you find that out? Is that something she eventually shared with
Something
you, or
long,
a
yeah,
family
yeah.
member
Many
told you?
years ago, she told me thereafter. So she started cussing me out. That's how she handled it. She says, "You the hoe that's taking my man. Why are you seducing